Greetings and salutations, mystery lovers. My name is Chaz. My friend Mona Lisa will be joining me here shortly. We are going to be discussing the Tommy and Tuppence Mystery Series by Agatha Christie. So, very excited about that. Um, if you have not checked out Mona Lisa's channel yet, please make sure you do that. She is back and making content. You can watch all her latest stuff over there. I have a link in the description below that you can find her channel. And yeah. So that's it. If you are not familiar with Tommy and Tuppence, they are probably one of the lesser talked about detectives that Agatha Christie created. Usually you hear about Hercule Poirot. He's probably maybe the most well known. Miss Marple is pretty well known as well, Jane Marple. But those are the two main ones. And then Tommy and Tuppence Beresford kind of bring up the caboose. They kind of they're kind of at the end of the train, unfortunately, in popularity because maybe not a lot of people know about them. I don't know, but I really, I'm really bummed about that because it's actually a really good series. It's only 5 books that feature them, so yeah, they're really great. Mona Lisa and I are working on reading through all of the Agatha Christie books together. That's kind of been our buddy read project, so to speak. So uh, more to come on that, of course. But yeah, so if you're wanting to get started in this series, probably the best place to do that is the Secret Adversary. It's the first book. Read them in chronological order, which is pretty much the publication order, I believe, is how she wrote them. So definitely something to look into. Um, but yeah, so if you guys just sit tight, we will be starting this stream very soon. Feel free to chat with me in the comments. I'll be able to reply, and we'll go from there. Okay. And I don't have any music to play to please enjoy the part. Please enjoy the music while your party is reached, type of thing. Yeah, I don't have anything for that. So, greetings.
Hi.
Hi, how are you?
When you try to have everything ready and then life happens uh, and I'm exhausted.
Oh no.
Yeah, certain little someone is waking up at like 2:30 in the morning.
Oh, that'll do it. That'll
And
do it.
so last night she woke up at 2, didn't go to sleep till 4. Or no, she woke up at 2:30, woke up at 4. Or
Yeah.
woke up at 2:30, went to sleep at 4.
Okay.
I'll get my words right eventually.
Eventually, yeah.
This may not be a good idea to be doing this live.
Well, I think we're gonna have fun regardless. And I gave everybody a little like intro, like a plug for your channel, and kind of an overview of who Tommy and Tuppence are and things like that. Because I was talking about how unfortunately they're not really talked about when people talk about Agatha Christie, at least not very much.
I
So,
didn't know about Tommy and Tuppence till like you and I started talking.
oh
I
yeah,
well
so
no,
see,
like I kind of knew about it because of like if you do like Agatha Christie books in order, it has them as like its own section. I'm like, okay, whatever, but like yeah, I knew nothing about them because nobody talks about them. I don't
hmm,
think I really ever heard anybody mention them before. So,
right. Yeah, it's true. They're rarely talked about. It's highly underrated, I think. Um,
yeah.
and so yeah, I talked about how they kind of bring up the caboose of the Agatha Christie train. They're just not very well
Yeah,
known.
but
So
I mean, we just found out about Mr. Quinn. So, like, is
that's
Mr.
true.
Quinn the real caboose?
Yeah, that's very true. Yeah, you make a good point. Yeah, I didn't know about Mr. Quinn until I saw it pop up in my Amazon books on sale. I'm like, who is
Yeah.
this?
Well, so I think, like, Perot is definitely like the steam engine. Everybody knows about Perot.
Oh yeah,
Most people, I think, if they know about Agatha Christie, know about Miss Marple.
yeah,
And then you've got Tommy, and well, and I think maybe even I don't know if it's in between those two, or if it's right after Miss Marple. Then there's a bunch, like, and then there were none, and a couple of her other like standalones, or maybe even some of her um like famous plays that have been converted into different things. So
right.
then maybe it's Tommy and Tuppence and then Mr. Quinn. It's
Yeah,
not like I mean, from Tommy and Tuppence and Mr. Quinn and even some of her standalones, some people know nothing about them. They just know about the ones that everybody talks about. So it
yeah,
makes me excited for us to be doing this because it means if we're going to be reading everything she wrote, we have to read the ones that nobody talks about.
right. Yeah,
So we'll be talking
exactly.
about the ones that nobody ever talks about.
Hmm. Yeah, and I'm sure there's going to be some gems in there. Uh,
Yeah.
just some books that were like, oh, this was really good, but never
And
gets
and
talked.
ask why is nobody else talking about them
Hmm.
type situation. So
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, and I think too a lot of maybe a lot of people have read Agatha Christie but don't really like talk much about her. So
But I
uh,
think if they're reading Christie, they're reading like the stuff everybody talks about. They're
yeah,
reading Death on the Nile, and then there were none. Murder on the Orient Express.
yeah,
I'm sure some of the names that I would think of are Miss Marple books as well. So like they talk about the ones that they're reading probably the ones that everybody else reads, and they don't necessarily do the deep dive like we are in
yeah,
trying to read all of them.
yeah. That's very true. And say what you will about the new movies, I whether you like them or you don't, everybody has mixed opinions on it. But they're showcasing Agatha Christie to a whole new generation, which I think is cool. And
Right. And I
so
haven't seen any of them to have any opinion on them. And I'm
yeah,
kind of hesitant because or movies tend not to be as good as books. And I already know that they changed things on Death on the Nile.
they did.
And
Yep.
so I don't know if would enjoy it or not. And like, would it be a waste of time or would it be so different that it makes me angry? I don't know which way to go on it.
Yeah. I think just go into it with low expectations and you would enjoy the movies. That's what I did. And I
That's so
enjoyed them.
sad.
Yeah, but for and I will say, Murder on the Orient Express was not bad. I mean, it was
Mhm.
fairly faithful for the most part, with a few changes.
Okay. I
So it was good. I'm the one I'm worried about is Murder in Venice. That's the one I already know is a complete departure from the book almost. So
and which book is it supposed to be based off of?
Halloween Party.
Okay, and that's one I haven't read yet.
No, we read it together. I thought.
No. No, you went ahead and read it, and I didn't read it with you for God knows what reason at this point. So
Oh,
no, I haven't read it.
I could have sworn we finished it together. Okay, all right.
No,
See,
because I think I was gonna. I think what it was it's because it's a pro book, and I wanted to read them in order. I was like,
hmm
no, I'm gonna hold off on reading it, and I'll just wait till I get to it in the order of pro books. And you're
okay,
like, well, it's October, I'm gonna read it.
yeah,
So I was like, okay,
okay,
have fun.
yeah, okay, yeah. I kind of remember that conversation now. So
Yeah.
okay,
So
well,
I mean, I don't know if the book is as creepy as the movie looks. And you know me, I don't do creepy, weird, ghosty stuff. So I don't even know if
yeah,
I'll like watch that one. Even if I watch the other ones, I don't know if I'll watch that one just because of the creepy fear, like
yeah.
factor in it.
Well, the book wasn't creepy. I'll give you that. So
That's good.
yeah,
But
the
also
book.
sometimes like having the visual, like a visual of it, can make it
hmm
creepier. Whereas if you just read it, it's like, oh, okay, that's kind of weird or odd or whatever. The visual, I think it's the visual stuff
Yeah,
that gets me. I mean, ET ruined me for life. So anything weird, I'm not up for it.
yeah, I get it. I think I think well, the book is just basically a murder that happens at Halloween time. That's all it is.
Okay.
And and yeah, so the movie is a complete departure. So you don't have to watch it to enjoy the book.
So it seems like these movies that Kenneth Branagh, Branagh, whatever his name is, keeps doing when it comes to Agatha Christie. Like it
Yeah,
sounds like he originally started pretty faithful to the books or to the book. What with like Murder on the Orient Express or whatever was one of the first ones. Like so, you stay faithful to the book, and the more he does, the further he seems to be getting away from like the books.
yeah,
I mean,
it
I could
does
be
seem that
totally
way.
wrong, but am I too loud?
Oh yeah, we are getting a little bit of feedback. It's not too bad though.
No, feedback's okay.
It sounds like
I
a
muted
fly
my
buzzing
mic to
around.
see if that'll help. So sorry, people.
That's okay. We just thought a fly was buzzing around. It's okay. That's what it sounded like.
No, that's even better.
Right.
See, this is what happens when you don't get to test everything out
Right.
beforehand. Because so yeah, I was trying to do everything on my husband's computer, and then I needed to log into Facebook because you sent me the stupid link via Messenger, and I couldn't remember what it was. So then I had to get my computer and mic, and so I blame you.
You should. Yeah,
I
you
do.
should blame me. Yeah. So so Tommy and Tuppence, um what I really loved with this series is not only did we see like the progression of their journey as amateur sleuths,
Hmm.
but we also saw their journey just in life together. In
Right.
the first book, they weren't married until they got married. So Prudence, right, is her actual name, and I can't remember her maiden name, so you have to
I
forgive
don't
me.
know.
But
I have
yeah,
the
she
book.
went by her maiden name in The Secret Adversary, and
Hmm.
just that was really cool. I think they had the most witty banter in the first book. Although they had it sprinkled throughout the other books, but
I agree.
They had the most they teased each other the most, I think, in the first book.
Yeah. And I think, you know, as far as the banter back and forth, it becomes less and less throughout the series, which is unfortunate because you would think that it becomes more
Hmm.
the longer couples marry. I know for my husband and I, the more we're together, the more like we have this banter and the more inside jokes and like
Right?
memories you create. So you kind of bounce off of each other more. And with this, it's kind of like it was like they were still madly in love, but the banter and like that back and forth seemed to drop off.
Yes.
And I missed it in the way like in some of the books, later books, like they would kind of go their separate ways or something, or they wouldn't always be together. So if they're not together as much, it makes it hard to have that banter.
Hmm.
So
Yeah. Yeah, very true.
I definitely wish there had been more of it because I enjoyed it a lot in the Secret Adversary. Oh, you know, it kind of set the expectation of what it was going to be, and then I feel like it kind of dropped off with each book a little bit.
Right. Absolutely. I think it did too. Oh, we got my friend Bad as Red 2 here.
Yeah.
Hi there. Um, yeah, so Bad is one that will probably enjoy a haunting in Venice
Okay.
when it comes out in the theaters. So just giving you a little plug there, Bad. You'll probably enjoy Haunting in Venice.
But you haven't
Um,
seen it, but you've just read the book, right? Because it comes out this weekend.
is it this weekend? Oh, okay, maybe so.
It comes out really soon.
Yeah.
So you haven't seen it, so you're just assuming she's gonna like it, not having seen it yourself.
Yeah, because she likes like creepy horror stuff like that. So
Okay.
like, yeah, I'm assuming that it would be up her alley anyway. So yay, thank you. Um,
Standing in line. That's
right,
awesome.
yeah, yeah.
Which store?
We even get an audience at the grocery store. It's awesome,
It's kind of weird, but cool.
or at a store anyway.
She must have headphones.
Probably does. Yeah.
Hi, bad is rad. I don't know, like call you bad. Do I call you rad?
She's
I don't know.
both. She's both bad and
Okay,
rad.
so bad
So
is rad.
yeah,
So, you know,
yeah,
you two would get along great when it comes to the horror and stuff, and I'm just like, I'll go watch a romance or something. Not that I'm a big romance person, but I'd watch romance over horror and whatnot any day of the week.
yeah. I get that. Yeah. Yeah, I don't do romance, but I'm glad you enjoy it. So,
Do I though? That's a whole other conversation. Like sometimes it depends, like Notting Hill or something. Like that's kind of cute, but
mhm.
like the crazy romance stuff, like it's so unrealistic for me. And you know,
Yeah,
and then people think that's what romance should be, and I'm like, no. Don't. Anyway, off topic.
right. Yeah, exactly. Oh, yeah, she's drifting close. Cool.
Nice.
Uh, yeah. So, but speaking of Secret Adversary, like I do like romantic comedies. Excuse
If
me,
they're done well.
and I think that the first book, Secret Adversary, makes a good romantic comedy kind of thing, even though it's got the mystery element there. So, uh,
I think that out of all of them, do it the best.
yeah,
Because afterwards, it's more about the mystery and less about the relationship. Not that in Secret Adversary, the relationship is like the key thing, but the events surrounding it definitely are wrapped around the romance slash relationship of Tommy and Tuppence.
right,
And the story's kind of, there's like the mystery, yet their romance is kind of fit into it. Whereas in the rest, it just pops up here and there.
right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
Why didn't she put more of that banter and like their relationship into it
Yeah,
more? Like I so wish she had done so much more in that respect. I don't know how she would have fit it into the book itself,
Right.
into these stories now that we've read them all. But I know she could have if she's. I mean, she could she could do it. I think for her, it
Oh,
maybe
yeah.
became more about the mystery than their relationship per se.
Yeah. I think so too. Especially, I don't know about you, but I think that would have enhanced the books that were not so great because there were a couple of duds in the series.
Yes.
Partners in Crime for one, like I enjoyed it, but it was just like okay, right? And so maybe that witty banter would have enhanced it and made it a little better.
Yeah. And Partners in Crime is definitely my least favorite out of all of them.
Oh
I'm
yeah.
coming to realize I'm not a short story person,
Mm.
which is interesting because I just picked up a book full of short stories from the library. So I'm kind of like, okay, well, I'll try it again because Brandon Sanderson does the foreword in it. So it's got to be
Okay.
good, right?
Oh
So,
yeah.
but I don't, in Partners in Crime was so different because it was short stories in
Mm.
that I don't feel like that. I feel like that one probably out of all of them was the least amount of their relationship shown because she was trying to do something so completely different with it.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it. I feel like there was very little of their banter and just everyday life, kind of like what you see in the other books, because she
Mm-hmm.
was focused on doing this other thing of doing like what was it, 12 different detectives within
Right.
the so you don't it's hard to put their relationship into that kind of thing when you're doing these short stories.
Right.
At
Yeah.
least that's how I saw it.
Yeah, that's a good point. It would have been probably hard to weave it in, but yeah, if she could have done it, it would have made the book probably better.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, so for those of you watching, Partners in Crime is
But
like Mona Lisa said, a collection of short stories where the Tommy and Tuppence are basically trying on different hats, trying out their favorite literary detectives' methods to see which one fits good for them, more or less. Is that a good way to summarize it, Mona Lisa?
I don't know if it's necessarily that it fits for them, but they just wanted to solve different crimes using the different literary detectives and seeing like, oh, can we really solve a case using the methods of this person? I think was
Yeah.
more. I don't know that they were trying to see if one fit them better. It was just like, oh,
Okay.
let's try to solve the mystery like Sherlock or, whatever.
Right.
I did find it cute though that she did do one of them as let's try the detective methods of Hercule Poirot. Like I did find that
Yeah.
funny that she kind of used one of her own characters
Yeah.
to try to figure out a case.
Yeah.
That was
That
fun.
that was almost, yeah, kind of like almost like breaking the fourth. Well, not quite, but it's, yeah, yeah, weaving in like an
Sorry,
Easter
that's
egg.
like in here. And if you hear very loud crash, it's because she's jumped in a box that's teetering precariously on some other stuff.
Oh yeah, cats do that.
Okay, she got out. Okay, we're good. No loud bang yet. So
Yeah.
sorry.
No, that's okay. It's Leia, right? She's getting into
Yeah,
mischief. Yeah.
yeah. Han wasn't here at the beginning. He's off, probably sleeping on the barrel chair again or something.
Right.
So, yeah, that's all he ever does.
Hey,
And
the
in
bear
Texas, sir.
the barrel chair is great, right? I have
And
firsthand experience, so
I know, and we just don't sit in it very much right now because baby. So can
yeah.
you
Well,
imagine
I
trying to
mean, if
get
you're
in
not,
and out of that thing holding her?
yeah. Oh, I
No,
bet. Well, if you're
not
not
gonna.
using it, you can send it to me. I mean,
Are you paying for the shipping?
yeah,
Well,
probably
one,
not.
it's an odd shape, and two, it's heavy, and three, it's huge.
Oh yeah. Yeah, the cost for shipping would probably be enough to buy one for myself.
Well, I mean, definitely if you could find it on the marketplace as well. So,
Oh yeah,
okay,
definitely.
barrel chair for people, just a
Yeah,
big round chair, but they're literally called barrel chairs. So,
yeah.
and they come in like we got the big size. I thought I was getting a smaller one. We got the big one. So yeah, hubby and I can like hang out on it comfortably, and I
Yeah, it
fall.
makes a good love seat, I'm sure. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So, okay, Tommy and Tuppence,
Tommy
partners in
Time.
crime.
If you, for those of you watching, we do this. We've known each other for 24 plus years or more, and tangents are a thing. So, you know,
90, yeah, since like 98. So is that
yeah,
going on 25?
yeah.
Holy crap, we're old.
Right? We are old. Oh my goodness. And Tommy and Tuppence got old as
Yeah,
they progressed through the
we're
series.
just along for the journey.
Yeah.
But I do want to say with partners in crime, something that we've discussed off screen is so she chose, I think it was 12 detectives, 10 or 12 detectives, and we knew only a handful of the people that the literary detectives she was referring to. We knew Sherlock Holmes, we knew Hercule Poirot, and I think there were like one or two more that we knew, and the rest we had no clue who they were. So we've discussed that if we knew the characters that she was referring to,
Yes.
not that I still don't think it would be my favorite book, just, or like, it may still be my least favorite, but I'd enjoy it more because I could see the techniques of the literary detective being used by Tommy and Tuppence. So not knowing what I was looking for made it harder for me to like, oh yeah, I totally see them doing, X as that character.
Right.
So I've discussed maybe trying to look up those different detectives and reading them and then going back and reading Partners in Crime to see if like I can get more out of it than I did. And yeah, I feel when you're missing pieces, that are kind of crucial to the story, it makes it harder for you to enjoy it because you have no clue what you're looking for or what you're reading. And I
Right.
feel like both you and I were kind of missing that piece. I didn't realize that that's how she did it, that she was using other literary detectives to write it. I don't think you did either. So I think we went into it very blind.
We
And then
did.
we found out like, oh, okay.
Yeah. And I read all the Tommy and Tuppence books as a tween teen whatever, but
Hmm.
that's so many years ago that I'd completely forgotten everything. So I just remembered, oh yeah, I enjoyed these books as a kid. So
Yeah. And
yeah,
see,
so
I didn't read any Agatha Christie till I was in my 30s.
yeah.
So, and Tommy and Tuppence, my first time reading it was with you. So I had no frame of reference. I had nothing to be like, oh yeah, this kind of happens in this book or whatnot. Kind of like the first book I read, and then there were none. When you and I
Right.
were talking, like I know how it ends. I just don't remember who done it. So I didn't have that type of frame of reference at all for Tommy and Tuppence because I've never read them. I barely even heard of them.
Yeah.
So see now, if anybody should have remembered that it was like 12 different literary detectives, it should have been you because you
Yeah,
read them
that's
before.
true. I should have, but yeah, so many years ago, I'm just like, I do know that I think I appreciate Agatha Christie a lot more as an adult because
Oh yeah.
I have more knowledge and background of that era and stuff now than I did when I was a kid. So I think I appreciated it more as an adult, and I'll probably remember it more
Yeah.
from my reading experience as an adult.
Till your dementia sets in.
Yeah, but well, yeah, yeah. Thank you for that. Who are you
You're welcome
again?
anytime. That's what I'm here for, to love on you.
Right? Yeah.
I will say, I think that's kind of as far as like enjoying books more and appreciating a book more. I think it's true in most cases that you can read something as a child, as a preteen, as a teen, even a young adult, and you enjoy it and you get something out of it, but then you read it 20, 30 years later as an adult when you have a lot more life experience and you appreciate the book even more.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
I
I think
think you're just too young at those younger stages to like appreciate it because like to certain, and I'm not against like in like high school you read the classics. I'm not against it. But I'll
Hmm.
tell you, if I didn't have to read the classic and I could pick a different book, I picked the other book because to me, classics didn't make sense.
Oh yeah,
The
yeah,
speech was weird, the lifestyle was weird, especially when you have an English teacher trying to pick the book apart for its deeper meaning. And I'm like, she's annoying. He's an idiot. He's a jerk. Like that's what I got out of it. I didn't get like all this underlying deeper meaning stuff, and so I didn't enjoy them. So it wasn't until I've been older, where I have life experience, that I've had my heart broken, where I've traveled, where I've met all sorts of different people, I've tried new things, where I can sit back now and read the classics, even though it's a completely different time frame, and appreciate more of the relationships that are happening or the experiences that people are having because I have more life experience. I feel like you can miss out so much on classics or books that you read when you're younger, and your
right.
appreciation for those books grow, hopefully, as you age. So,
Yeah, I think so, definitely. And yeah, you're right on there. Do you feel like any of the books in this series ever recaptured the magic of the first book?
no.
Yeah, yeah, that was kind of my thinking too.
Well,
I didn't.
because you think about it, N or M, they're not together. They're in the same place, but
Right.
they're not together. By the pricking of my thumbs, Tuppence goes off on her own, like most of the
Yeah.
book.
Yeah.
Imposter to Fate, I think, maybe comes the closest
Yeah.
because they're living together, they're retired now, they're just wanting to live this peaceful life, and another murder happens because it's them. And so they're kind of trying to work together to figure it out. But then again, Tuppence is kind of off on her own again. So I don't feel like the interaction between them is as much as it was in the first book. And granted, in the first book, Tommy kind of disappears. You know, are we doing spoilers?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
Okay,
Full
so
spoil.
Tommy
Yeah. Full
disappears because he
spoilers,
gets.
guys. I forgot to make that warning.
We're gonna now do a spoiler. In the first book, Tommy gets kidnapped, right? So he's not with her; they're separated. But you know, she's worried about him and trying to figure out the pieces to figure out where he is. And he was still being talked about throughout the book because of his experiences. Whereas when you get to like by the pricking of my thumbs, you don't really see Tommy at all when she's off getting clues. So I do feel like the closest you come to that magic between them is the last book because they are kind of working together to figure it out. But but there again, you don't have the banter and you don't have the like. You can definitely tell there's like a comfortableness within their relationship. Like
Yeah.
they're the old couple that are very used to each other's mannerisms and um, habits, and they don't seem annoyed by them, which I find interesting because, like, I've been married 12 years and hubby has habits that drive me nuts. But I think, they've just gotten to a point where, like, they've accepted, like, this is the person I love and who I married, and it's just now kind of like a fly buzzing around that's kind of annoying, but you just don't pay much attention to. But their relationship is definitely at a point where they have grandkids now, and they're just just enjoying each other's company, not having to work. You know,
Right.
what
Yeah.
do you think?
For me, I don't think any of them recaptured the magic. Most
No.
definitely. I thought that I thought that Secret Adversary the was the perfect Tommy and Tuppence novel.
Hmm.
Um, you know, absolute like if we're doing stars, like 5 stars, whatever. But and then the others just kind of some were good, some weren't, and you could kind of see glimmers of Secret Adversary, like you could see glimmers of the past, but it
Hmm.
for the most part. I didn't
Yeah.
recapture the magic, even though on the whole, as a whole series, I liked the whole series,
Yeah.
and I would definitely read it again. Well, with the exception of Partners in Crime, maybe.
I don't know, like, yeah, I think I would if I read about the other detectives just
That's
to see if
true.
I can get more.
That's true. Yeah.
Let's add that kind of whole series of books to read as on our TBR and see if we ever get to it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because that would be kind of interesting down the road to go back and revisit just that book with those, literary detectives, like read about them first, read their books. And not
Yeah.
even all of them, but read a few of them to kind of get a feel for each character, and then go back and read that book and see what we think.
That's true. That's a good point. Maybe that could be a project for the future where we read Tommy and Tempence's favorite detectives.
That's a cool idea.
Yeah.
I like that. And yeah, let's pop that in for like 2035, right?
Right. Exactly.
Let's put it on the calendar now, or else it's never gonna happen.
Right. Yeah.
It just it.
Uh, speaking of
I was trying to
dementia,
read people's, huh?
speaking of dementia, I'll have dementia by then. No, I'm just kidding.
I
I don't
probably
think.
will, man. I'll be going
Uh,
crazy.
yeah.
Well, that's only 12 years away.
That's true. Well, and we
We'll
do
still
have
be young.
one thing on our side. I mean, you can't necessarily prevent the inevitable, but they say that people who are readers or doing other things to actively engage their mind have a lower risk of dementia. So
Yeah,
we've got that going for us.
which is nice.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
anything to keep me from losing my mind is a good thing. So-
yep,
no, I've been doing like Sudoku puzzles and crosswords and reading and, you know, ways to actively engage your mind does seem to
yeah,
help. So, yeah.
yeah,
So I
definitely.
need to read a lot more.
Yeah, yeah, and for and of course it's in a book, but Tommy and Tuppence seemed to pretty much be all there in their later years.
Mhm.
They were.
They seem to like have their aches and pains and stuff like growing
Mhm,
older, but they definitely had all their faculties together. So,
mhm.
especially,
Well,
I mean, I'm not saying Tommy didn't, but it seems like it seems for like the last how many books are there? Five,
yeah,
four.
mhm.
I keep cheating because I can never remember.
Yeah, that's okay. Yeah,
So it seems
there's
like
four
so the
or five.
first book kind of really has them half and half, right? And
Right.
then Partners in Crime is kind of half and half because they each kind of do their own take on a different persona. But then NRM, By the Prick of My Thumbs, and Posture and Fate seem to focus mostly on Tuppence.
Hmm.
And so you miss out on Tommy, and I wonder why she kind of. Hi.
Go ahead. Sorry.
Um. So NRM was Secret Adversary 1922, Partners in Crime is 1929. So it's only a 7 year gap, and then you have NRM, and that's in 1941. So now you have to do math. My 12 years difference, and
Right.
then By the Prick of My Thumbs is in 68. So that's 27 years. And then Posture and Fate is 73. I don't know if like what was going on with women's lib and stuff kind of made her change and have more of the focus on her, or that's just kind of where she was in her brain. I don't know, but I feel like we miss a lot of Tommy in it because Tuppence keeps going off and doing her own thing. Like because with NRM, it starts off with Tommy supposed to be like the main person going and doing the detecting, and she kind of weasels her way in. And
Right.
I enjoyed how she does that, and I enjoyed her bit, but like she became the main focus, and Tommy just kind of popped in here and there. And I
Right.
don't feel like Tommy really got much airtime in the last three books at all.
Yeah, I get that. And you could be right that she was kind of evolving with the times to focus more on Tuppence. Um, but I think even back in Secret Adversary, even though there was still very much that aura of male leadership, so to speak, in their relationship, because that's what society expected at the time. She was still a very liberated woman. She's very
She
strong headed.
was.
She's very strong headed. She always, speaks her mind. They have a very equal relationship, even all the way at the beginning. So
They do. I
yeah,
wonder if Tuppence is kind of that way because aren't both her parents dead in
I
the
think
first
so.
book?
Yeah,
And
if
she's
I
living with
remember
her
right.
aunt or her grandmother. And
Yeah,
so I think anybody who loses a child younger, even if it's just one of them, tends to grow up faster than their peers
true.
because they have to in a lot of ways. So maybe for Tommy because of Tuppence's losses of both her parents, she's had to kind of figure things out and do things on her own. But also in
Yeah,
the 20s, think there was a lot of women starting to say like, no, I can do more than outside the house. Not that they were really allowed to all the time, but there were more women trying to work in the workforce, arena and do more than be a teacher or a secretary or a nanny.
right.
So I think, I mean, and I know you haven't, but if you were to ever read her autobiography, I think you can see why she does it that way, where like
Okay.
Tuppence is so independent because that's kind of how she was, you know. Even though she had older siblings, she was younger than them by quite a bit. So she was kind of an only child. She had to kind of entertain herself to a certain degree. And that's where a lot of her imagination and things started to make her be the writer that she was. But she also did things. Um, she wasn't reliant on men to do certain things, right? So I
Right.
think a lot of herself could be seen in Tuppence and being independent and doing what you need to do. And so, I mean, she started writing because she was getting divorced from her first husband and needed money. That's why all this started. Was she needed
Right.
money, so she popped out her first book, Mysterious Affair of Styles.
Yeah.
So she did what she had to do, and so I think you kind of see some of herself reflected definitely in Tuppence. I can't say Miss Marple because I haven't started hers, but like I definitely think you could, you know, have a what's the phrase I'm trying? You could definitely give an argument for Agatha putting some of herself into Tuppence and being
Oh
this
yeah.
independent woman.
Yeah, I can definitely see that. And I think that's true in general of authors. They put a lot of themselves into their writing, and I
Characters
mean,
and
I know
whatnot.
I do. I have things that leak in, so but
But the thing is not everybody's gonna pick up on like, oh, that kind of fits the author because they know the author. Like I haven't even like when I've read your stuff, and I know I need to finish doing my preview of your book. I keep thinking about it. I'm so sorry. I'm a horrible friend. Anyway, I
you're
blame it
good.
on my daughter. It's all her fault. Um, but I haven't really seen you leaked into your books. So I need
Okay.
to pay more attention. But here's the thing, like because I know you and because I've read about Agatha Christie, not that I knew her personally, but I've read about her and I've watched documentary. If you can know more about an author, like their
Yes.
personality, their lifestyle, what it was like for them growing up, I think it's easier for you to pick up on like, oh, this feels kind of like it's the author in this character. But if you
True.
don't know anything about that person's life, you're not necessarily going to pick up those things. So,
Yeah, I agree.
and I only picked up on like maybe Agatha is putting some of herself into Tuppence because we're having this conversation. You don't always
Hey,
connect dots till you have conversation.
right?
So
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
yeah.
So yeah, it's good we're having this discussion. That way you could connect those dots.
Well, and we haven't talked about this series in great depth because we knew we were going to do this. So like
Right.
now all the
Originally, we were
thoughts.
planning a few different streams for this series, but it didn't work out.
were planning this for like June.
Right. So with Secret Adversary, I know with all of these books in classic Agatha Christie style, you can't guess anything. Um, like you're always left shocked and in awe at the end of the book as to who it actually was and how it all played out. I think that was especially true of Mr. Brown in Secret
Hmm.
Adversary. It was in the other books too, but I feel like the final answer in Secret Adversary was probably the most. At least it's the one that stuck out the most for me, anyway.
I say it was N or M for me.
Okay.
Like,
Well, okay,
and I
yeah, true.
because the whole we keep jumping books. I'm so sorry, people watching this. I feel like there were certain things in N or M that were leading me, and I don't remember names now, leading me to who actually, and I maybe I won't spoil this part, who leads me to who N is, right? So there is one key thing that happens with the child that I was like, this is not kosher right here. So this character, she's got to be the person. And I was right. But it was that key thing that happened with a child in order for me to go, okay, this is not, this isn't what it seems to be. So I got who N was. And M, who it ended up being the colonel or whatever, I
Hmm.
was like, I think it could, because like sometimes with her it is the obvious, and then other times it's not the obvious. It's you always think it's the obvious person, then it ends up she flips it at the end, right? And so
Right.
this one, just with how it was going about, like I kept coming back to, I think it was a colonel, to him, and I was kind of like, oh no, this is just like too convenient and too much, and the whole thing. And so I had never said definitely. I don't recall ever saying definitely it's him, but I'm like, he's involved somehow. There's something
Yeah.
with him that just is not. So for me, out of all of them, I feel like N or M was the one that gave the most clues for me to figure out who it was. And then I would say Secret Adversary, because I was almost right on Secret Adversary as well. But the flip that I didn't catch was the Jane, whatever her name was, Jane.
Oh,
Like
trying
I did not catch that. Do you remember that part? Jane, what's her
Jane
name?
Finn. Yeah.
Jane Finn.
Yeah.
Sorry, I just
Hmm.
think my microphone. Sorry. Um,
Okay.
I um, I didn't catch that flip that she did on Jane Finn. Did you? Did you even
Um,
have a
I,
clue?
I had a feeling that the maid was not quite all that she was supposed to be. Like I had a feeling she wasn't just a maid, but I
Hmm.
didn't realize until she got in the car and told them, "I'm Jane." I didn't catch that.
Yeah,
I
and that
didn't
was
catch
the
it.
thing. Like I knew there was something with her,
Yeah.
but I like she knew where Jane Finn was. I didn't put together in my head that she was Jane Finn.
Right. Yeah.
But that was a good flip. That was a good like
It was a
twist.
good flip. Yeah. Yeah, because the whole time here we're thinking, oh, she's locked up in this room in this uh like what was it, sanitarium or like convalescent, whatever. She's convalescing
Yeah.
in this house for people to convalesce, and she's being held there against her will or whatever. And all the time she's the maid. It's like, what?
Yeah.
Huh?
Yeah. Which is kind of good because she definitely, I mean, Chrissy definitely gives you that little switch
Yes.
of pulling you in one direction and then doing a complete 90-degree turn and being like, oh no, it's really this. So,
Hmm.
And I remember reading that book and thinking I had Mr. Brown figured out, and I texted you. I figured it out. I was right. It was so and so. And then, like, and I had like 4 pages left.
Right.
And then, like, something else happened, and I was wrong. And I was like,
Yeah.
oh,
Yeah.
Christy did it
I
again. I
remember
was
that
like,
you
and
were
you had
so
already
upset.
finished it.
You were so upset.
Well, and you had finished it, so you're like, uh-huh.
Yeah.
And I
Right.
finished it, and I was like, I was wrong. I'm so mad. So I think I Marco Poloed you
Yes,
after
you
I
did.
finished it. I think I was maybe even Marco Poloing you my responses like, oh, I figured it out. I was right. And then when I found out I was wrong, I was so angry. I was like, how could she?
Right.
So yeah, I she does that.
She
I think the
does.
closest that I came to solving was N or M.
Mm.
By the pricking of my thumbs, I think that was in some ways the most interesting because of the house, and you knew the people were somehow involved.
Yes.
And I'm sorry we're jumping all over people. Um, but I think that was the most interesting because she finally did something stupid. Um, um, I you knew that somehow the death of the daughter, the dancer or whatever, was going to play a factor into it, but I
Yeah.
wasn't quite sure how. And then how is this old lady at her aunt's convalescent home fitting into it? And just the complete twist. The I I don't know that I was even close to figuring that one out. Like I knew that these two characters had something to do with it, but I didn't figure out how they were together.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I didn't either. Honestly, um, I I didn't figure that out until we got to the end of the book, and I'm like, wait, the old lady,
Yeah.
like a completely unsuspecting old lady, just, and yet she's got this vendetta, you know.
See, and here's a question I know, and I posed it to you about, and then there were none. But I think we can ask this question now about any Christie book. Is my feeling is in her books. If you look at them individually, do you feel for each individual book that she's giving you enough clues to really honestly be able to figure out who done it?
Yeah,
Like I
I
feel like
don't.
with the secret adversary, yes. Partners in crime, that was a complete mess, in my
Right.
opinion. NRM, definitely, I think there is enough there. By the pricking of my thumbs and posture to fate, I don't necessarily agree. I don't know, and maybe if I were to reread it now, knowing what I know, maybe I'd pick up on clues of like who was it. But I feel like those two books, there wasn't enough given for you to come to the conclusions that happened in the book.
Right. Yeah,
What do you think about that?
I don't think there's always enough clues, definitely. And I think probably part of that's intentional. Like, I don't want you to figure this out, so I'm going to give you just enough to think you're figuring it out, but
So
then
she
you don't.
purposely pisses you off.
Yeah, I think so.
Great.
I'm sure that it was intentional because I mean she wants you to enjoy the twist at the end so much that she just she wants to she's patronizing us basically, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, but then is it fair if you're reading a mystery novel to not give clues in order to figure it out? Like,
Yeah,
is the
that's true.
goal, I guess that it has to be what the goal of the author is. Is the goal of the author to have you figure it out? Or is the goal of the author to have you think you figured it out and then throw in the twist?
I
With
think it's
Christie,
probably
it's
the latter.
obviously to think you know what you figured it out and always have the twist. But I don't understand why some books are much more clear in who it is than others.
Yeah.
I don't know if that has to do with what was happening in life at the time or just And I do know, like, at the beginning of her career, she was just pumping out books because she needed the money. She was
Right.
divorced, she had her daughter to raise, her mom was living with her. So she was kind of in a survival mode. And so she just kept pumping out book after book after book. And so I think when you're pumping out that much, it may make it where you don't maybe think through everything
That's
as
true.
well, so
That's a
that
good
it makes
point.
it harder to figure it out. But then on the flip side, like, yeah, because I feel like Secret of Adversary, you could figure some stuff out, but that was a newer book. And same thing with NRM, it's kind of in the middle of her career. And so that one, for me, was the easiest to kind of figure things out. But the last two, I don't think there was enough there per se. Like, especially with Pricking of My Thumbs, like, well, even Posture and Fate, like, who it ends up being, I don't think you're given enough clues to put those people, like, they're somehow involved, but you're not able to put the pieces together.
Right. Yeah.
So is that a nice thing or a mean? I think it's a mean thing.
Um, I think it's a mean thing that we can't fault her for.
Why not? Because she was doing her job.
Yeah, she's doing her job. Yeah, that's
I
doing her job as she sees it. She sees her job as uh, needing to string us along and provide a satisfying ending. And in order to do that, she has to like just deceive us and stuff like that along the way. So
But
uh,
if you're unable to finish, like, figure it out to some degree, like, typically there's like these little side mysteries, and I
yeah.
typically am able to figure those out. But the
Hmm.
main mystery, I've still yet to be like, oh, I got it. Um, if you're never able to figure it out, is it satisfying for the reader?
Yeah.
I don't feel like it's always satisfying for me if especially if you feel like there weren't enough clues to at least help you. And it doesn't have to be huge clues. It doesn't have to be like glaringly obvious. Like,
Yeah.
let's go back to Death in the Nile. There were clues in there, but they were all little pieces that you had to put together just right for you to get it.
Yeah.
So, at least in that respect, I feel like I had a chance.
Yeah.
With Pricking of My Thumbs, I don't feel like I had a chance to
Yeah.
really put those things together. Like, you knew they were involved, but I don't feel like you were given a clue into what the connecting piece was.
Hmm.
It was just revealed at the end. So then, doesn't make it satisfying for the reader who enjoys mysteries and likes to try to figure out what the mystery is, the who done it is, if you're not given enough to have a fair chance of figuring it out. What do you think?
Yeah, that's true. Although maybe some people are able to figure it out better than others. Like I know I
Because they're
could.
smarter than us?
If may I don't know, but I always enjoy like when I get to the end of the Agatha Christie book and I realize I've been totally duped. Uh, I I al- I always just laugh and say, "Okay, Agatha, you did it to me again," and and I'm thoroughly impressed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like obviously I was that way with Pricking of My Thumbs and Posture and a Fate. Um, Maybe it's just because of the series overall and kind of what our expectations were, especially with the first one, and then kind of to see their relationship go down, less banter, less like about their lives in it per se, and then us wanting more of that, of them in it, like their relationship in it, and then just I don't know, like I feel like it slowly went downhill in a way.
Right.
Like the series overall, instead of getting better, it kind of went downhill. I mean, I think, the big dip was the second book that we
Yeah,
agree. And then I think Enter M was kind of like up there, and then it went back down. Um, I just think my expectations overall for the series was a bit more
yeah, I
than
get
what I
that.
got, because it
Yeah,
started off so strong, and then we were like, oh, Partners in Crime, that was hard to read. We both were. And
yeah,
the people that were on my Discord, they were like, yeah, that was rough. And then we went to NRM and we're like, oh, this is great. It's back. Like, we got Tommy and Tuppence. And then the last two, like, they were good mysteries, but they weren't Tommy, like, they were Tommy and Tuppence, but they weren't like the Tommy and Tuppence that we had fallen in love with.
yeah. I agree with that. It's yeah. It did take a definitely more mediocre tone, I guess, throughout the rest of the series. Wasn't quite as good. Yeah, none of them were near as good as the first book. Yeah,
But why? That's what I want to know. Like, why? Because if she was cranking out the book so fast at the beginning, then why at the end does it seem like it went off?
yeah,
Why was it such a derailment in our opinions? And for her, maybe she thought it was getting better. I don't know.
yeah.
But for both of us, we just kind of felt like, no. If you take the Tommy and Tuppence factor out, right?
Hmm.
Good books, not good books. What do you think?
Uh,
Like the mystery in and of itself, the story in and of itself. Take Tommy and Tuppence out of it as like. I mean, I understand they're the characters doing the mystery, but is the mystery in and of itself what's trying to be solved? Is that good?
um, NRM, yes.
Yes.
Um, by the pricking of my thumbs, kind of. Well, I would maybe say yes on that because that could have been a Poirot or a something else, you know. Um, Postern of Fate and Partners in Crime, no.
Yeah.
Especially Partners in Crime because it was exclusively their favorite detectives that they were emulating. So I just don't know how you could like have that without Tommy and I mean maybe you could, but um, yeah,
I
I
think
don't
the
know.
concept behind Partners in Crime is a very interesting one.
Oh sure, yeah, yeah, it
But
is.
I also think that the readers who read it at that time got much more out of it than we did because they would have known about all the different detectives being
Yeah,
discussed within the book. And that's something else that we have discussed is like when this came out, it was probably huge and people loved it because they had the reference points for it. Whereas we're like, we know three of them. Big whoop.
right,
you know
exactly.
and also with Partners in Crime, we discussed how because they were short stories, she wasn't able to flesh out like all the clues and able to give a lot of story to it because it had to have a certain time limit on it because it's a short story. So therefore I felt like, and I do this with like 99% of short stories, is because they're a short story and it ends and you're like, but more like it's not done, or like more needed to be in the middle to make it feel like a really complete story. And i
Right.
think i think because we discussed this, we both kind of felt like there was that with a lot of those stories. Forget the fact that we didn't understand who the detectives was, like it was difficult for us to even try to figure out who done it, or like I think some involved like counterfeit, or it was like stolen goods or something. There wasn't enough time to have enough clues. It just wasn't enough in there for us to be able to figure out the solution, because I remember reading one of them and it ended. And
Yeah.
because they gave like, oh, and such happened and blah blah blah, and this person blah blah blah, the end. And I was like, whoa, whoa, like how do we go from here to here with nothing in the middle to explain? Like
Yeah, it's so true.
that, I feel like there was a, I know there was one for sure where I was like, that's the end. Like you just gave us the thing. You gave us nothing in between to give us clues to even try to figure out who it was. And I know some of them there was like an over. That was one thing that was kind of interesting about Partners in Crime was there was like an overarching mystery throughout all of them that was figured out at the end of the book. So that was good.
Yeah.
But even still, with that overarching storyline, I feel like unless you were really paying attention, there was only a little bit in each of the stories to really get you to the conclusion that happened. And even still, that would have been a hard stretch, at least for me. It was a hard stretch to really get to where she got.
Hmm.
So that's my issue with short stories as well. Is one, at least with Partners in Crime, one, we didn't know the detectives they were emulating. Two, I don't feel like with a short story you're getting enough information to be able to solve the mystery.
Yeah, I agree. Short stories in general are hard unless the person is really good at writing them. Of course, I haven't read any of the Poirot short stories yet, so maybe it'll be interesting to see how that goes. But
I know. I'm scared.
yeah, I am a little
I
bit,
really am.
but it's Poirot, so I think I don't know. I have high hopes, but yeah, for
We had
this
hope.
series,
I had hopes for Partners in Crime, my friend.
well, that's true. Yeah, that's true. We did. Uh,
I,
I will be right back. Chad's going to
seriously,
stop at the loo.
dude, I can't believe you're ditching me on your own channel to leave me alone with
Right? I
people.
know. Yeah, I'll be right back. But you
You're
got
the worst.
you got this. I believe in
Like,
you.
are any people watching? Like, it doesn't show me that anybody's even
Yeah,
watching.
not right now, but people will catch it on the replay and
So,
they'll
what am I
laugh at
supposed to
it.
talk about?
Oh, you can tell them about your channel.
Okay, fine. I'll tell them about my
All right,
channel a
I'll be
little bit
right
about
back.
me. Okay, you're the worst friend ever. Okay, so I know Charles talked about me at the beginning of the video, but Charles Chaz, whatever. But I don't know exactly what he said since I wasn't on here. So my name is Mona Lisa. My channel is Mona Lisa Reads. I started it almost a year ago. It'd be a year ago next month, but I took a 5 month hiatus because my husband and I have been in the adoption process for many years, and in March we got a call that we are chosen to parent and adopt a little girl. We got her at the end of March, and so life became insane. So I didn't do videos for 5 months, and I'm finally hopping back on to BookTube, onto my Discord, trying to post again on my Instagram. Um, so, yeah, that's a little bit about me. On my channel, I rate a little bit of everything. I enjoy a lot of different genres. The ones I typically don't do is like romance. Like Charles likes this part. Chaz, sorry. Chaz likes. I don't like the romance where it's the heaving bosoms and burning loins. I'll do like I'm kind of trying to do the rom com thing, but I struggle with that because the lack of community. You're horrible. Now I'm gonna just take over. I don't like the like misunderstood communication thing or the lack of communication or the third party whatever. I don't know. But I like classics, fantasy, sci-fi. What else do I like? I keep saying your name. Mystery, obviously. Um, oh, and I don't do horror. That's another. I do like some thrillers, not all thrillers. So that's what my channel is a little bit about. Still working on it. Um, yeah, kind of got thrown off the train tracks this year, but hopefully next year will be better.
It will
So
be. I
it will be.
believe in you.
I've still been reading. I mean, what did I say? I'm like up to like 50 something out of my goal of 60 for the year. Thank God for
Yeah.
audiobooks.
Right? Oh man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, it's really hard to plan sometimes. There's so many factors that affect it. You've got your daughter, and if the weather is bad, then um, you just never know what's going to come up. So
yeah. I mean, and that's the thing is you and I have planned, especially this Christie reading. and and it pretty much went out the window in March. Like
It did.
everything just blew up in our faces. You still stuck to your reading plan and all of that, and mine is just like, oh. I mean, there were times I didn't read for what, a week or two. I was just trying to survive the moment. So, but I don't know. And I wrote on my Discord. I think it was my Discord. Yeah, it was my Discord. I said something to the effect because somebody was saying how they couldn't um, do more than one book at a time, or they just focus
Hmm.
on the one book at a time. And I'm like, right now, I'm kind of doing like several different types of books, and I'm able to kind of compartmentalize them in my brain. You know, a mystery, and then you have science fiction or fantasy, and you have like a nonfiction or a classic, and so they're such different stories. I'm able to keep them straight in my brain, and I'm kind of wanting all of it right now. And I think it's because I went for so many months without not getting much or anything at all of books that now I'm just like, give me all the books. I
Right.
mean, I keep checking library books out and I'm like, I don't know when I'm going to have time to read them, but I've got them now. You know, and I've got audiobooks going and I have a few books behind me to read. And, um, you know, I have my Kindle, but I haven't really touched that much lately. But I feel like because I had a lack of books for a few months, I cannot get enough books now.
Right.
So, like if hubby's feeding baby at night, I try to come out here and or in the living room and read, even if it's for a little, you know, half hour, whatever. Because, and that's the other thing too. Physical books over audiobooks. I miss my physical books, but to ingest some books, I have to do audiobook right now.
Yeah.
So.
I get it. It's yeah, audiobooks are not my preference either, with some exceptions, but like Dresden is great on audio, but for
Or
the
Neil
times you
Gaiman
have to do it.
reading, or Neil Gaiman reading your grocery list.
Yep. Neil Gaiman reading my grocery list for sure. So
So
back to Tommy and Tuppence real quick.
yeah,
I wanted to ask you about N or M real quick.
okay.
So for me, inserting the German expatriate into the story
Hmm.
was a really masterful deception on Agatha Christie's part, I think. Because at that time period, you expected that, if there's a German expatriate in England, something's wrong with that picture, or at
Right.
least, so uh when they arrest him and everything like that, you're like, oh well, yeah, I saw that. That was he's probably the guy, right? He's
Right.
probably him, I guess. So that was really masterfully done on her part to throw in that deception to distract us from the real M. Uh,
Yes.
yeah,
I,
I don't know what you thought on that.
I agree too, because and sometimes what he says or what he does makes him more suspicious. It makes a logical sense that it would be him. And I just was looking up while you're talking. It was written in 1941. So what was happening in 1941?
Right? Yeah,
World
that
War
was
II. So,
yeah.
and I know that was very big in England was the German spies.
Hmm.
You know, and they were not kind to those who were not British. You know, anybody who was a, I think they were fairly cool with the Jewish people because they were learning that they were being slaughtered basically. But like if
Hmm.
you were Jewish or from certain surrounding countries or those that supported the Germans, then like you people in England were very suspect of them. Kind of
Hmm.
like America, unfortunately, you know, doing the internment camps with the Japanese after the bombing of Pearl Harbor. Like that wasn't like a like I guess because we live when we live, my brain doesn't understand how you go from like people in a completely different foreign country do something to us. So people that are descended from those people but haven't been in Japan for like a couple generations, they deserve to go into the camp. Like it just doesn't make sense, right?
Yeah, right.
But anyways, sidetrack. But it makes sense that in 1941, when she wrote this book, why wouldn't you have an ex-German, right? It
Yeah.
totally would make sense that at that time, like that would have probably helped sell the book.
Mm-hmm.
Having like this German person in the book and like having you think that it was that person, and then it really technically wasn't him.
Yeah.
You know, I think the fact that that you think it's this one person, but actually is somebody else pretending to be that person, it that's kind of ingenious. But I
Yeah.
mean, that
It was
happens
a
in a
nice red
spy thing,
herring on
right?
her part.
Right. But that makes sense in a spy mystery book.
Mm-hmm.
Like that somebody takes on the like nobody knows what this person actually looks like, so somebody can take on the persona of that person to gain clues or sabotage or infiltrate for whatever reason. So it really was ingenious. And the guy did things that were seen, and that was where I kind of had to stop several times and be like, is it really him? Because like this is a little too obvious. And usually when it's a little too obvious, and it was just then it's not him. But
Mm-hmm.
then there was like an incident would happen, and you're like, oh no, he's kind of doing some shady stuff there.
Right.
And like, so he could be M working with N, and you still didn't know who N was until I felt like a certain point in the book with the child. And yeah, it was. I think it was really smart on her part to incorporate that. But then even to not have him be the person, he's not M, you know, because
Right.
there's enough in the book to make you think it's the German. Yeah, and then there's enough in the book to make you think it's not the colonel or whoever, general or whatever.
Right.
So it's just enough, but then if you think, okay, I've read enough Agatha Christie to know, flip them. So it probably is the general or colonel or whoever, and it's not the German, because that's just kind of how she does things. But I
Right.
feel like with NRM, that was out of the 5 books, that was the most obvious of who was who at a certain point.
Yeah, yeah, I definitely see what you're saying. I mean, for sure with M, like you were with N, like you were saying earlier, because uh, she shot the actual mother and
Yeah.
took the child with her, and so
Well, but
yeah,
we didn't know it was the child's mother at the time.
right. We didn't, and that
I
was
was
well
just
done
like,
too.
oh. The Snickers has been teasing me this whole time, so I just popped it in my mouth.
That's okay. Candy is allowed.
No, but I have to agree. Like, talk for a minute.
Yeah, so I thought it was really interesting, and that was also what kind of played into the German guy, because he would like he if I remember right, he would be seen talking with the child's mother
Right.
like at different points in the story, and so you're like, okay, who is this guy? What's going on? He's having these secret meetings with this woman, and all of it,
Who you go?
go ahead.
No. Go with your channel.
Well,
I talk too much.
and all the time, it's just this frantic mother trying to get her child back.
Hmm.
Yeah,
But
sorry,
I
go
think
ahead.
that's the ingenious part of the Christie writing is that you're thinking he's M and
Hmm.
she's N, or
Yeah,
she's M and he's N, or whatever, however it is. Like, because you don't really ever find out much about her. And then the child goes missing, and then they're on the edge of this cliff, and she's with the kid, and you're like going, okay. But the way that N ends up, or M ends up shooting the woman, the mom, you're
uh-huh.
like, there was no need for that.
Right,
Like,
there wasn't.
there wasn't. It wasn't. I mean, she was trying. The mom was trying to protect her child, so like that's being seen. But like, she wasn't about to like throw the child off a cliff because like, And that was the thing too, is the child would say certain things and you're kind of going, this child knows something. Like, does the
Right.
child know exactly what's going on, or are they just repeating things they've heard? Or something with the child is there, so you know something's going on.
Yeah.
But the way that the mom interacts, when you don't know it's the mom at the time, when this woman interacts with a child, she's not like trying to throw the child off the cliff, like get rid of the child because the child has clues or has information that the child's going to share. It was more of like they're running away for some
Hmm.
reason because they were at the edge of the cliff. So you're thinking if this child is an endangerment to information that does not need to be shared, just toss the kid off the side of the cliff
Hmm.
and run away and be safe. So, and the fact that M ended up shooting her for no reason, I'm like, that's the moment I knew she was M.
Yeah.
That's when I knew it was her. Still wasn't sure who N was, but I knew she was M because there was no reason. But the
Right.
other thing too was that was good was the hotel slash hostel slash house that they were all staying at.
Hmm.
The owners, the woman who was running the house, she was suspicious. So for
Oh
a
yeah.
long time, I thought it was
Totally.
her and her daughter that were involved. So, but it was the shooting that I was like, nope, she's M. That's
Right.
no doubt about it. If it had been like the mom had done something dangerous towards the people or to the child, it would have made sense to shoot. But because she didn't, it was, yeah. Anyway.
Yeah. Yeah, that definitely gave that part of it away. Yeah. I do think yeah, I think it was the Colonel. I think the Colonel was definitely the harder part to figure out.
Hmm.
Um
But I think you kind of figure it out once Tommy disappears and gets kidnapped again.
yes. Right.
You're kind of like, okay, he's somehow involved. So,
Yeah.
but I do think it was ingenious on her part also to have him, for Christie to have him own the house and be like, oh, there's, and like not hiding the fact that it's been used in the past for shady business and him being all proud of it basically. And that's why he wanted it as kind of like bragging rights for him, right? So nobody's going to suspect him because he's basically bragging about what all this house could do or what it's done.
Right.
So it's more of like a trophy piece for him, is what you're thinking,
Yeah.
not like, oh, this has actually become the headquarters in this area type situation. So I think there's a lot of ingenious little pieces in that particular book. And then I think the next best one would be Secret Adversary.
Hmm.
Because for me, Secret Adversary was much harder to figure out than NRM. So as far as like, I don't know why. There's something about, maybe it's because I figured out a good portion of NRM that I enjoyed it so much.
Yeah.
But I think as far as difficulty level and figuring things out, Secret Adversary was harder than NRM.
Yeah. Yeah, and I actually like Secret Adversary better, and then NRM is my second favorite.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I see where you're coming from. The fact that you could actually figure some stuff out goes a long way in helping to enjoy the book. So
Because come on, you know me. I'm like, I haven't done it since Death on the Nile, but I have a whole Death on the Nile like had tabs galore on the side and like everywhere. And I decided I can't do that. It pulls me out of the story to like pop them in. But what I did do, like, um, with and then there were none, was I started writing down clues because that's a lot
hmm.
quicker. I could go back and find them easier. Um, because by God, I want to figure out some Christie novels. Like I want to figure out some of her mysteries. So for me, I think when I come this close, it's so irritating to me. And so
Yep.
I think because I was able to kind of figure out NRM, like it gave me joy. I'm like, finally, I figured it out. But now as I look back on it, I'm like, well, it kind of was obvious at certain points, like, but still. But the thing is I don't know that everybody would pick up that like N was M was who she was. Like they thought, oh, she's protecting the child or whatever. Um, I just find it interesting the child never said, "This isn't my mom." Like,
Yeah, that's true. Although
it's all
to be fair, she was probably too scared to say anything because
yeah,
I'm sure I'm sure she thought that uh, even though the lady wasn't actually going to kill her because they needed her, I'm sure she felt like the lady was going to kill her.
maybe. I mean, you're never really given the child's perspective because the child's just
Yeah.
kind of this little girl who kind of rambles these riddles
Hmm.
around, and you just think she's kind of this precarious little girl who likes to talk in riddles and
Right.
whatnot. So I don't know that they ever really saw her as a danger, but you would think the child's old enough to say, "Hey, this isn't my mom."
Right.
Like,
Yeah. Oh, and that was the other neat twist in that book was with the children's book with the
yes,
um with the nursery well not
the
nursery rhyme
nursery
but
rhymes.
yeah um
Yeah.
so that was another neat twist. um
Christie likes her nursery rhymes
she does, yes.
because I mean that's what, and then there were none is based off of is another nursery rhyme. And
Yep.
I'm interested to see how many more books as we go along this, including. And she also uses like "posture to fate" is a phrase,
Mhm.
right? And by the
Right.
pricking of my thumbs is another phrase from a. I don't think it's a book. It's from like another child's um, book, like nursery rhyme book or something like that.
Yeah,
So
by
she
the
picks like
pricking of
these
my
nursery
thumb
rhymes and
something makes
phrases
the
of
book
books.
like humans.
Yeah. Sorry, that was very loud. So she likes taking these phrases or
Mm-hmm.
nursery rhymes and using that as like the theme for the book. So I'm actually kind of anxious and ready to already talk about and then there were none.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited to eventually do that.
Yeah. Good thing we already have it on the calendar, else it probably
I
wouldn't happen for
know.
another 6 months.
Yeah, right. Yeah, if you guys are watching and you're into Agatha Christie, we're doing and then there were none. We're doing a live stream next month on the 14th. Right?
My
14th?
on the 14th on my channel. Yeah, maybe we might do a little later in the day, see if more people can join. So
Sure.
if anybody's watching this on the rewatch, like if you have opinions of times, that would be better.
Yeah.
We're flexible at this point, so
Yeah, definitely.
but I'm excited about it because I mean that's the book that got me hooked on Agatha Christie,
Mm-hmm.
and there's so much I want to say to you and discuss, but I haven't because the live. So, but
Right?
I mean,
Yeah,
I'm
we're
glad
still
we're finally doing this because even us talking about, even though it's been several months since we've read it, we've had a lot to say about them because we didn't discuss them much when we were reading. We're like, no, we're saving it for the live.
mm-hmm.
So I just I wish there were more Tommy and Tuppence books. To be honest with you,
I
but
wish
good
there were.
quality. I feel like because the first two are fairly close within the time frame in their lives, right? It's like um, they're kind of friends, and then the next one they've just gotten married,
Right.
and then N or M they've been married for a little while. They're kind of middle aged because they're too old. Tommy's too old to go and serve in the war in World War II as a soldier, so he's kind of been sidelined, and they consider Tuppence too old to kind of work as a nurse. And they just feel like, and I feel like she doesn't give an age, but it's like the 40s maybe is
Yeah.
kind of the
Right.
feel for it. But I feel like in World War II, and maybe it was toward, and I could be wrong too. Someone's from England and would know better, or like knows history. Like I think they became less worried about age of men serving the more the war went on because so many of the young men were being killed off.
Right.
And
Take
you
who they
keep
can get.
yawning. You weren't up at 2:30 in the morning with the baby.
Right. I
I
know.
haven't yawned once. You keep yawning.
Yeah. Yeah, I know.
Um,
You transferred the yawning to me, I think is what happened.
oh, that's good because I normally yawn on Marco Polo, so this time I just gave it to you. But then,
Yeah.
like, anyway, So NRM is kind of like it's World War II, but their ages you kind of feel like they're in their 40s. And then by the breaking of my thumbs, I don't know, maybe like 10 ish, 15 years ish later. So they're like, I don't know, because Posture and Fate makes it weird. Posture and Fate seems like they're in their 60s. So maybe like
Right.
by the Pricken is like in their 50s. So you kind of get the very beginning and you get the end. But I feel like there was so much more that could have been done between the last book and the first book and kind of given more of their lives and more mysteries because they kind of refer back to like, oh, when we had the detective agency, you're like, where are the stories about when you were a detective agency? Like there was so
Right.
much that could have been done within that. So I wish she had done more.
Well, there are new authors writing like Miss Marple stuff from Pro. Not that I
I
necessarily feel good about that necessarily, but it would be interesting to see what somebody else does if any new authors pick up and write Tommy and Tuppence stories.
we
Um,
should do it.
we should, yeah. I'm not good at writing mysteries though. I don't think.
I'm
Maybe I
not
would be.
either.
I
So
don't know.
that's why we have to work together to do it.
Right? But yeah, I've
I don't
noticed.
even write.
Yeah,
I would love
I've
to be a
noticed
journal
there's.
keeper. I'm not.
Oh, that's true.
I would love to keep a journal. Like, but I always feel like I, you know me, I go details. I like, even when I'm talking and telling stories. So I feel like I have to write the details too. And I would spend like
Right.
an hour and a half writing, and I'm like, that's ridiculous. And then life happens. I'm like, I don't have time every day or every other day or every few days to be sitting and writing for an hour and a half. And I'm like, well, I want to type it on the computer. I'm like, but like, there's something about the handwritten journal.
Hmm.
And I don't know, just so me trying to write a book if I can't like journal. I mean, I guess it's different, but still, anyway. So no, I know that people like I know that some people are writing more Marple and Perot, and I'm like, I almost feel like it's kind of sacrilege.
Yeah, I get
I
that. I do
and
too.
I know that they're doing it with like it's on this side. No, it's this side. Um, they do it with Sherlock Holmes too.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's kind of like when they remake a movie, and you're kind of like, that doesn't feel right.
Yeah.
Especially because it doesn't have the original tone and feel of the original author or the original movie. So when you remake it and you don't have whatever that magic was in the originals,
Mhm.
you just feel like you don't get the same thing out of it as you do with the originals. So that's why I
Ye-
struggle with like I don't even know if I'll read the new Perot's and Marples and Holmes and stuff like that.
I might give the new Marples and Poirot's a try at some point. Not anytime soon, but I think I'll probably give them a try. I read one of the authors that does some of the new Sherlock Holmes stuff. I read one of his books, and it's like a mashup of Sherlock Holmes on a case where he encounters Cthulhu, uh, like actual Cthulhu horrors and stuff like that. So I read, and that one was brilliantly done. He really captured the voice of Sherlock Holmes. I felt.
Yeah.
So I think giving them the benefit of the doubt to see how they do, I think might
See,
work.
but that's where I get bit in the butt, my friend. I give way too many people in life the benefit of the doubt, and it bites me in the butt.
Yeah,
I'm like, I am not doing it with authors as well. I'm not doing it with my books.
yeah, I
I
get
don't
it.
know.
I respect
Well,
that.
I will say it's a take. It's not Sherlock Holmes. Sherlock Holmes. It's Mycroft Holmes. So I'm in '80s. I mean, I was born in '76, but I grew up in the '80s. So like, I grew up in California, Southern California. So we grew up as a Lakers family, in my
Hmm.
house. Mom really could care less, but like dad, brother, and I, we were Lakers fans, and so we grew up in the time of Magic Johnson and Kareem Abdul-Jabbar and James Worthy and Michael Cooper and Goggles, James Worthy and stuff. So what I found interesting, I was in a bookstore and it's on one of my book hauls. Is I was in a bookstore and I look up and it says Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, and I was like, what? And it's like in the mystery fantasy section. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar wrote a book about Mycroft Holmes and like solving mysteries with like supernatural side of things. And I was like, okay, so I have the second book. I bought the whole trilogy for my dad. Um, my friend Brandy has read the first book. She loved it. I haven't done it yet. So there, I think I make the exception of like, so one, it's not Sherlock Holmes, it's Mycroft. And it's
Hmm.
like something completely different where you're popping in the fantasy, paranormal, whatever into it. So it makes it kind of completely different. Um, so I don't know. I guess I would do it. Like if you wanted to read some of the Sherlock Holmes or like some of the Perot by the new authors, and we kind of did it as a series and did a comparison between like Christie and the new authors, I'd probably be up for it. I'm gonna be really hard on them though because I don't know. It's how do you like? How do you start rewriting Christie? You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah, I get that.
how do you
Uh,
rewrite Sir Arthur Conan Doyle? Like, how I'm gonna say you have to be ballsy to go there,
oh yeah, oh
right?
yeah.
Because these are beloved characters, Perot, Marple, and um, Holmes, and even I'm trying to think of other people who have like um, written some other beloved character, and it's like my brain is just like sucked dry of thinking. But there's other characters that people have fallen in love with, and then other authors come in and write more about. So like Gone with the Wind, famous book. There's another book written by a different author called Scarlet about what happens
Right.
after the war, right? So, and I've read both. um, but like things like that, people things that love, and then the author goes, "Oh, well, I'm going to write more." I'm like, you got to have some balls,
Hmm.
and like you've got to really commit. Like if you want it to feel authentic and like written by the original author, you've got to really make a commitment to that because if it's not the same, unless you do something completely different like Kareem Abdul-Jabbar did with Mycroft Holmes, then okay, that's something like almost completely different. But if you're trying to get the true essence of the original character, if you're not committed to that and do your research, it's not going to go well.
Right. Yeah. That happened apparently with the Millennium series, the original books by Stieg Larsson, The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo.
Hmm.
Excellent trilogy, but then after he died, this other guy started writing the books. And I've heard there some people like them, but they're not nearly as good. And it's just, yeah, you're right. It's very ballsy.
Well, I mean, even think about what Brandon Sanderson took on after Robert Jordan died in The
Oh
Wheel of
yeah.
Time. Like,
I've
whole.
heard he did a good job. I don't know if I'll ever find out, but
See, to me, that's like a series I really want to read, even knowing about the slog.
yeah,
Like, I don't think I should start it anytime soon.
yeah,
Like, I think I need my little girl to be a little older
yeah.
so that I'm able to commit some more time. Like, definitely in our plans is to have reading time at nights or during the day and stuff like that. So, like, she can pick whatever she wants and I can read the slog and slog through the slog. Um, but yeah, so I'm interested. I think for me, I want to see like one. I've never read anything by Robert Jordan, so I kind of want to see what his writing's like. And so many people love The Wheel of Time, despite the slog. And I think because Sanderson is Sanderson and so well liked, that I want to kind of see how he. I mean, I know he worked with Jordan's son, but like how he worked on filling out that series.
Hmm.
I think I mean, that was ballsy on his part because it wasn't just like one book. He had to like finish a whole series.
Yeah,
And so he wrote many thick books to do it. So,
right. It it
yeah.
it was it was ballsy, but at the same time, he was actually he was contacted by the family and asked to complete the series.
I know, but still,
Yeah.
you have to have some balls to take on that
Well,
request,
that's true. Yeah, yeah. Very
right?
true.
Because
Yeah,
obviously Sanderson knew about him, right? He knew
yeah.
about the Wheel of Time. So he knew. I mean, I don't know how much contemplation he took on before like saying yes, but like that's not a light commitment you take on.
Right, it isn't.
And granted, still haven't read any Sanderson except for like the first 5 pages of Elantris. I still have all my boxes up here unopened. I got another one the other day. Um, I just have a good feeling I'm gonna like Sanderson. And the way the man writes and the stories I know he's talked about like having these stories in his head, and it's just a matter of getting them out. Like the amount of things he probably has stuck in his head, but then to take on the Jordan product project, wow, come on. Like to put your own like thoughts and desires of what you want to write aside or like on the back burner to focus on somebody to finish out somebody else's story and their vision. I mean,
Mhm.
that's pretty impressive. I mean, but the man has so much in his brain. I feel like I
Yeah,
have a lot in my brain, and then you like listen to Sanderson talk about his writing, and like, you're like, oh, I got nothing in my brain compared to Sanderson. So, like,
yeah,
it's just like I daydream apparently, where Sanderson's like concentrating constantly. So,
hmm
yeah.
yeah. I
Anyways,
see
back
what
to
you're saying.
go ahead.
I see what you're saying though about like it taking a lot of balls to really um to pick up somebody else's work and write more about it and stuff like that. And I don't know if somebody else would do Tommy and Tuppence justice,
Yeah,
but I still think I would like to see someone try. I don't know. You know,
you
I
have to be
think I would
serious.
read at least one novel if somebody did one.
I would try it. I would definitely try it, especially if they kind of pick up after Partners in Crime and try to fill in the gap between Partners in Crime, because like you get the feeling with the Secret Adversaries, you're in the 20s, right?
Hmm.
Things are good. World War II is over, or World War I is over. So you're like in the 20s. Partners in Crime, because they're just newly married, it's still probably 20s, early 30s. So you have like the 30s up until World War II to fill in gaps. And that's when they had their supposed detective agency. So, holy crap, think about the stuff that you could pop in there and the
Right.
stories you could write with them solving more crimes. It'd be great.
Hmm.
It would be wonderful.
It would, and maybe not make them short stories too, like
No.
with Partners in Crime, it was short stories. Let's get some full length, like here's what happened in like 400 pages about this one mystery, and
Yeah.
so yeah,
So that's interesting that you say 400 pages because
or
most of her books are like two something.
yeah, okay,
One
yeah,
or 400?
yeah, 2 to 400 somewhere in there. Yeah, I
Interesting.
guess 400 would be a bit much. That's
You
true.
could do between three and four.
Yeah, yeah. But yeah, I would be interested to see what somebody does with it if they did it.
Yeah. I think you have to, for me, I don't know if respect's the right word, but I think, if anybody were to ever take up that work, that they should not do a book that goes anywhere past Posture and Fate.
oh
Like,
yeah,
let
definitely.
that be the end of Tommy and Tuppence. That was Christie's work. Be respect. And like I said, I don't think respect's the right word. Like, just acknowledge that she has the final word in their lives. You know, I think it's fun to kind of play with like what's happened at the detective agencies. You could even have it like Tommy and Tuppence detective agent or the something adventure, whatever the name of their
Yeah,
like.
the Young
It can be that
Adventurers.
whole series. Yeah, like it could be that. That could even be the name of the series with them as the characters of it solving crimes with their detective agency. But don't go beyond posture and faint in the timeline.
Yeah,
Like that's to me that's Christie's. That's
yeah,
not for any of us to be messing with. Besides, if they're in their 60s, how many more mysteries are they going to want to solve at this point? So
right.
they're
I,
done.
I I could see having a fun little book at the end where they're sitting in the nursing home and they're like reminiscing about all their like past cases, like kind of a satire almost kind of
Yeah.
thing. But that could be fun. But other than that, yeah, stick within the timeline of the other books for sure.
I don't, and I don't know if I see them in a nursing home. Like, I just see them like maybe they go, well, because the house that they buy in Posture Fate, that's supposed to be like their final house, right? So
True.
maybe they're on vacation
Hmm.
like along the beaches or whatever, and they reminisce about a murder that happened on the beach or something.
Yeah.
That would be kind of fun. But and then I would love to see if anybody were to redo a Tommy and Tuppence to bring back their banter from the first book.
Yeah, that would be cool to see.
That would be a lot of fun to read
Yeah,
if they do it right.
it would. Yeah, that would be cool to read.
It makes me want to write it, but I have no clue what I'm like. I'm not a writer. Maybe we should get Laura to do it, but she's all like fantasy books.
Right, yeah.
Do we know any authors that do like I don't know, I mean you know more authors than I do, but I don't know any personal authors or any authors that you know that do mysteries, like all fantasy
Yeah, I mean there's some that
or horror.
that I've come across on BookTube that are really popular, like Lisa Jewell and um oh I can't Ruth Ware and things. So there's some that kind of play in that space that could maybe do it justice, but
Yeah. I
or
think you'd have
maybe some of the authors that are doing some of the Marple stories, maybe they could pick up and do some Tommy and
that would
Tuppence.
be I'd be interested in like I would want to read the Marple or whatever first. Like first I want to read Marple
Yeah,
and then I'd want to read those to see like are they really fitting within the original character and do they have the same feel about I know they're not going to be 100% like Christie's feel, but are they close enough to pass, right? And if
right.
so, yeah, then if they could get the feel of a Tommy and Tuppence, that would be kind of cool.
It would be.
I'm
Yeah,
still kind of like I'm so hesitant on like other people picking up other people's work, but oh no,
yeah.
if
Same
it's done
here.
right, I guess. But still, it feels kind of I don't know. The only word I can think of is sacrilege to a certain point. Like, why are
Yeah,
you messing with this work? It's good. But then it's like, but I want more. So like you're stuck between the two.
yeah, yeah. I know. I'm with you. It's it makes you hesitant to try it, but like I had a really good experience with that one I did about Sherlock Holmes.
Right.
It was very well done, and I think, uh, yeah,
Which makes me kind of interested to be like, okay, but here's my thing with you. You love Ocean at the end of the lane.
yes,
I
I
can't stand
know,
that book.
I
And so
know.
like that was the first book I really read off of your recommendation. And it was a complete bust for me. So now you're like, oh, this Sherlock Holmes is really good. I'm like,
Yeah.
yeah, I want to read
It,
it because you
it,
thought it
it,
was good. And I'm like,
it,
oh.
it's been a thorn in our friendship. No, I'm just kidding.
Good thing that's not the only thing our friendship is based off of then.
Right?
We have way too much history to let one single book like destroy
Yeah,
it. So,
right. Yeah,
I don't know. So like
exactly.
whenever you go, oh, it's a really good book, you would like it. And I'm like, Will I though? Will I really? So,
Yeah, now you don't trust me. Yeah, that's what it comes down to.
and I think it
You
all
don't
comes
trust
down
my
to like,
judgment.
I think it comes down to like how much I hated that book. Like, I did not, there was nothing I enjoyed about the book except for when I closed the book and it was done.
Well, you did admit to me at first that you enjoyed it better without the audiobook.
True. That is true. And so I know the next time you reread it, um, I'm willing to reread it without the audio and just to read it.
Yeah.
And it's interesting because I did Neil Gaiman reading and Ocean at the End of the Lane, but I also have done Neverwhere with Neil Gaiman reading it. And
Yeah.
I feel like it's two different narrators between the books because it's like a dirge. It was like the slowest reading. I mean, and I could have like sped up the reading, but I try not to do that. But he just read so slow. Excuse me. And it seems so monotone with Ocean at the End of the Lane. And there was like some fast action ish type stuff happening or like more intense. So like Dresden. Now I've started Dresden, and it's like when James Marsters like when there's those intense fight scenes or his like power is drained and he's trying to find the will and the power to like beat whoever. Like James Marster puts more emotion behind it, and he's like his speaking speeds up a little bit to like capture like the fear or the anxiety um that Dresden's feeling. Whereas I feel like with Gaiman, it was just the same the whole time, even
Right.
in the moments where there should have been like more intensity, especially if you're talking about a little boy in the middle of a circle outside at night and it's dark and you know bad things are trying to get you. Like I don't feel like there is this intensity in his voice and this like fear in it. It was just kind of the same as when it had been like he's walking through the field to Letty's house. Like it was just kind of the same the whole way through. And for me, I'm like, if you're gonna narrate, like narrate the crap out of it to make it good. So
Right.
and that's where I just found it was more monotone. Whereas with Neverwhere, I know I'm talking most of the time. Welcome to our lives, people. Um, this is like conversations between Charles and I all the time. I'm always talking to
Right.
Charles.
Yeah. Yeah. We see. We need to retitle this Tommy Tuppence and Tangents.
Yes, because it's total tangents today too.
Right.
But what, anyway, so Neverwhere, like he read that one, but he kind of did some different voice with different characters, and I felt like there was a lot more inflection and a lot more movement in his voice. So I enjoyed him reading Neverwhere. So, anyways, but yeah, so when you say, "Oh, you're gonna like this book," it makes me hesitant because Ocean was the first one that I read, and I wanted it to like it so bad because I know how much you love it. I was just like, "This book sucks." So, but like I said, I am willing to reread it to see if maybe just my reading it and having the mental pictures in my brain without him reading it would be better. So, yeah. How do we get here? Oh, trusting you to pick a book and saying it's
Yeah.
good.
Trusting
That's
me to
what it
pick the
is.
book. Yeah.
Although I have to agree, like just finishing the Farseer trilogy months after you, um, I think we're pretty much on the same level of our feelings about the books
Yeah.
and how they were. We really enjoyed the slow burns. We enjoyed um, the story in and of itself. But I think at around the same times where it gets difficult, they were kind of on the same level for us. So with that being said, you loved Ship of Magic, so it makes me very eager to read Ship of Magic, and you saying it's much better. Um, so we'll see. I've read like the first 3 pages and in a week, 2 week. When did I start it? Like 2 weeks ago. So I'm gonna have to reread those first few pages. But little girl keeps me. I'm also afraid to start it because it's so big and it took me so long to do Assassin's Quests, and I didn't have times where I could just sit and absorb it. So that
Right.
was something that we talked about was me not being able to sit and absorb the book, so I think that took away some of my enjoyment. But, anyways, back to Tommy Tuppence, Ross. We could talk about other
Right?
things. So, yeah, I don't do tangents at all.
Yeah, not at all. Well, and we are at almost the 2 hour
Two.
mark.
Yep.
So, did you have any final thoughts on Tommy and Tuppence that you wanted to talk about?
I don't know. Like I was just thinking about that as I was off on a gaming tangent. Um, I don't know. I think I guess with closing thoughts. Um, do you hear her at all?
Yep, yep.
Okay.
Here.
She sits there and she makes these like she's perfectly fine, but she makes these noises because she's like trying to play with her toes or whatever. I don't know what hubby's doing. He's not entertaining her, else you'd hear all the giggles. Anyway, um, as far as Tommy and Tuppence, overall, I think I enjoyed the series.
Yeah.
As an overall series, I feel like if you took Partners in Crime out of the series, it's maybe even a better series. Like that book really like sucked the series down. I think for both of us. Um, if you look at the books individually, there were some that were definitely better than others.
Hmm.
Um, and I guess just I really do wish there was more of them.
Yeah.
And and I'm interested. I mean, since we're doing the Perot, starting Perot next year, I'm interested to see the evolution of her writing because I remember reading the very first one, Mysterious to Bear South, and for me, it was easy to figure out who done it right at the beginning.
Hmm.
But I've read like Death on the Nile and stuff, and then that's one that I didn't figure out. Like I had pieces, but I didn't know how they all fit together. So I'm interested to see if there's an evolution with Perot. I don't. I almost feel like there was a. I don't know that there was a de-evolution with Tommy and Tuppence, but I don't feel like it got better.
Hmm.
Like because Secret Adversary started so strong, and it we expected it to get better, and it didn't. So overall, I liked it, but then there's a lot of disappointment in it too, which
Hmm.
makes me a little sad. So, yeah, I like
Yeah.
the series. Would I reread it again? Yes. Do I want to do a series where we read the fictional detectives in Partners in Crime and kind of go back to Partners in Crime and discuss it and see if we like it better? Absolutely.
Hmm. Oh
Um,
yeah, most definitely.
yeah, but yeah. So I enjoyed it. I enjoyed reading it with you. I liked how. I mean, you typically finish a book before me, so I'll go, "Oh, I think it's such and such," and then you're like, okay, I'm not saying anything," and then like
Yeah, right.
I'm wrong.
I'm
Like I knew
torn.
you were wrong, and I'm like,
Yeah.
I but yeah, I'm excited for next. I mean, I've never read. Are we doing Man in the Brown Suit next month? Yes.
I believe so. Yes. Yeah. Man in the brown
So I'm
suit.
looking.
And then,
I don't. I'm kind of non-committal on that one. Like I'm not like super excited or anything, but I'm excited for Sparkling Cyanide in December. But I'm super excited to be starting Perot next year. I,
oh
I
yeah.
I've been wanting to like read through the whole series, book one on, for years. So having you to kind of come alongside and for us to do it together, it makes me excited to do it, and I enjoy having somebody in my life to like discuss these books with, not just Christie books, but like the other books that we try to read together.
Hmm.
It's nice having this, and even, my Discord, there's a couple people that are reading the Christie books with us, so we get discussion on my Discord, and I'm really enjoying it because a lot of the people in my physical world that I see don't do the reading that I do. So
Yeah.
this has been a
Same.
lot of fun for me. So I'm glad I did it with you
Yeah. Me
because
too.
it's fun to where we kind of bounce the theories off of each other. are like, oh, I'm thinking this, and what do you think about it? Do you think that's really a clue? And it's fun. And so I'm glad that we're doing this together, and that, I have such a good friend to do it with. I mean, I
Yeah,
could do it with like any friend, but somebody that I've known for forever, and and just how well we know each other and how much we're in each other's lives. It's fun to do this with somebody like that, and so
it
I'm
is.
enjoying it.
Yeah,
So
it
yeah,
is.
overall, I enjoyed the series. Books individually, they're broken down as is. So yeah.
Yay. Yeah,
What
me
about
too.
you? What are your final thoughts, Chaz?
Yeah, my final thoughts are about the same. It's a great series overall. Some parts were better than others, but yeah, I think Tommy and Tuppence are a fun couple, and uh, it's unique in the world of mystery in general to see a couple as
True.
the detectives. So
Yeah.
yeah, I really enjoyed that, and I hope more people will read Tommy and Tuppence. I really do, because even though it's got its highs and lows, it's underrated. I think so. So
Agreed. Like, and
yeah,
even if you aren't a short story person, or you're able to figure things out easily, or you feel like there's not enough clues, I think they're still enjoyable reads.
oh yeah,
You
yeah,
know,
definitely.
because if you go into mystery wanting to figure out the mystery, you know, I don't
Hmm.
know that you can do it 100% of the time, but it's the challenge, right?
Oh yeah, yeah. It's the challenge. Yeah, if you go into it and it's too predictable, that's not fun either.
Right.
So yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah.
Well,
Mm.
cool.
So, do you kind of feel like Tommy and Tuppence are a little bit like hubby and I?
Oh yeah, yeah. I can totally see that. Yeah,
I feel like we have this banter that we do
yeah, yeah.
that I
And then other people in your lives think that you hate each other when you have the witty banter, and it's like, no, this is what we do.
this is, and the thing is like, it's not that we're not being mean to each other, but it's like, we say things like, because we have a frame of reference for what we're referring to, whereas the other people are like, well, that was kind of mean. Like, no, 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 it's a joke between us. It's like, so yeah,
Yeah.
I do. Sometimes I felt like, oh, that's something he and I would do. And that's
Yeah.
something he and I would say to each other or whatever, like,
Yeah, that's true. Like Tommy and Tuppence, viewed from a person on the outside, if they said something to each other, they might go, "Why did you say that?" And they're like, "No, no, you have to understand. This is what we do."
yeah, kind of like how I joke about my husband letting me pee.
Yeah, right.
There's a frame of reference for that for that story. Like, it's not like I have to ask permission to pee.
Yeah,
Like, we were on a road trip. I had to pee. I told him I had to pee. He didn't get off at the next exit. And then we got stuck in Boston traffic, and I thought I was going to pee my pants.
yeah.
He goes, "Well, if I had known, I would have let you pee." Oh, you won't let me pee? How chivalrous of you. So that's an inside joke. You would let me pee. Like,
Right.
oh, what a man. You would let your wife pee. So, like, you have to have a context to understand. Otherwise, it sounds like he's a complete jerk. So, yeah.
Yeah,
Anyway, see, it's all about the context.
it is. Context is everything.
Yes.
Well,
So,
cool. Well, this has been super fun. I'm really glad we had a chance to do this, and I'm looking forward to our stream about And Then There Were None in October. And I think that'll probably be even better because we're only focusing on one book. So
yeah,
yeah.
I agree. And we've talked a little bit about the book, but once again, we haven't talked a whole lot about the book. And I'm just going to plug my channel for me. So it's going to be on my channel, the live, October 14th. So far, it's scheduled at noon Eastern, but I think we might go, I may say like 3 o'clock or something, my time, just
Hmm.
to see if we can get some more people on. Anyway,
I'd be good with that.
so keep up, like, watch out for times. But then, I even though I finished the book on my Discord, I'm gonna put up I need to switch it over to the community, but I'm gonna have the forum to have discussion about And Then There Were None on there, and um, I would love to have some conversation on the Discord about that book. I remember very clearly what I was thinking at each section, so I can give my thoughts at that time without giving anything away. But I would love to have that discussion on the Discord in the meantime, leading up to our live discussion. And gosh, I want to talk about it so bad. So, and
I do
here's a
too.
question: if anybody plans on coming to that live, or like if they're planning on reading the book in the near future, here's a question I asked Chaz: if you read the book, at the end, do you feel Christie gave you enough clues in the book to be able to figure out who it was, or
Mm.
how it ends? Like, do you feel like you were given enough clues? Um, so come back to the live on October 14th, and let us know, because I have my opinion. I know Chaz was thinking about it. I don't know if he's created an opinion yet.
I have an
I don't
opinion.
want to
Yep,
know yet, but it's a good question. I think it's a
it is.
very good question. And I think that question could be said of any of her books, kind of like we do with Tommy Tuppence. But so, anyways, yeah, come October 14th, and then they're not. I'm excited. Now I just want to do that video right now.
Yep. Yep, me
But
too.
I have to go help hubby watch the baby so he can do housework, some stuff around the house.
Right.
So, but
Well, we'll go ahead and end it there. Thanks everybody for tuning in. Make sure you go check out Mona Lisa over at Mona Lisa Reads. Links are in the description of this video below. Go subscribe to her channel. She's got something special planned once she hits 100 subs. So let's help her get there. Yeah,
and almost
so
congratulations on 1,000. You're so
whew, thank
close.
you. I know. Yeah, it's like 24 subs away, I think, or something like that. Yeah.
No, I think it was like 22 when I saw it last night.
Really?
Am I wrong?
I didn't know I'd gotten more subs, but
I think you did.
no. Yeah, well, if I did, they're not there anymore. So it's 24, but
Oh.
that's okay.
Well,
That's
maybe I
okay.
was just dreaming it. I'm
You
sorry.
got
But
my
you're this
hopes
close.
up.
You're like this close. So
Yes, I'm that close. Well, cool. Yep, I'm excited about it. I'll be doing something special when that happens too. So
I'll try to make sure I'm there this time.
yeah, well, I'll try to make sure to remind you this time. Like I never remind you about my streams, so
You did it like once.
Well, yeah, maybe yeah, okay.
And I was so determined to be there for 4 years, and then like baby and
Yeah.
almost migraine, and I felt like the worst friend ever. But no, well.
Well, said friend did not remind you, so
Yeah, let's as I do with everything else. I'm gonna blame it on you.
there you go. There you go. With the exception of our meeting, that we blame on Dwayne, but
I won't discuss that part.
right. All right. Well, thank you everybody for tuning in. Love you guys. I hope you have a wonderful day, and make sure you read more books, including Tommy and Tuppence.
And then there were none.
And then there were none.